Hello guys, first of all I welcome you all to this interview question series. Right, we are seeing interview question related to Python. Okay, and we completed set 1 and we are starting with the set 2 right now. Okay, in the set 1 we built some foundational understanding with respect to the Python. Okay, and in the set 2 we are building upon that. So let's get started. So first question of today's session is, what is Python path? Okay, what is Python path? Python path is an environment variable that allows the user to add additional folders to the system.path directory list for the Python, right? In a nutshell, it is an environment variable that is set before the start of the Python interpreter. Means what? Whenever you are downloading any Python installations, any Python offerings into your system, you have to set it in the environment variable, right? So basically you are set the Python path over there so that you can globally access the all the functionality offered by the Python. So this is nothing but the setting up a dictionary path with respect to the Python as well, right? Clear? So let's move forward with the other questions we have. What are Python modules? Okay, a Python module is a collection of Python commands and definition in a single file. In a module, you can specify functions, classes and variables. A module can also include executable code. When code is organized into modules, it is easier to understand and use. It is also logically organizes the code. Okay, so basically .py extension file you are building, it's nothing but a module in which we have a classes, methods, functions, variables, okay, all those kind of things included in the modules as well. Clear guys? So let's get with the other questions we have. Okay, what are the local variables and global variables in Python? Okay, it's the most important interview questions to ask for. So let's look at what is the local and global variables in Python. Okay, so local variables are declared inside the functions and have a scope that is conformed to that functions alone, whereas global variables are defined outside any function and have a global scope. To put it in another way, local variables are only available within the functions in which they were created, but the global variables are accessible across the program and throughout each function. Okay, to understand this terminology, this theoretical terminology in the neat and clean way, let's go ahead with the example. Okay, let's go ahead with the examples. So let me just switch back to my Google Colab. Okay, so right now we are seeing what is the local and global variable. To understand this concept, I am taking one variable g which is equals to 10, right? So I am defining one variable here, and what I am then trying to do is that let's try to define two functions here. Let's try to define the two functions def fun1, right, fun1, and it won't take any argument and try to print the global variable g, right? Next I'm trying to add some function 2, right? It won't take any parameters or any user argument, and also trying to print out the g as well. Okay, I am defining two functions here. Okay, so let me just call these functions, right, fun1 and fun2. Okay, see, these are the two functions we have. Let me try to execute this thing. Let me try to execute that stuff. Okay, so if I execute this thing, I am getting the 1010 and output 1010 as an output. What happened is that I am defining one variable which is globally available for this function as well and this function as well. So this has a global scope. If I am defining any class after that, this variable will also be available for that class. So the variable which are declared outside of any function, right, outside of any function, termed as a global, which is available for the any functions we have. Clear? Apart from that, we have a terminology with respect to the local variable as well. Okay, let me try to modify this stuff and try to create one function f1. Okay, it doesn't carry any argument right now. Okay, and let me just define one local variable L1 is equal to 10 here. Okay, and try to print out the 10. Okay, try to print out the 10. And what I'm trying to do is that right now I am defining another function f2, Okay, another function f2 which won't take any argument, any parameter, and try to print the local variable L. Okay, local variable L here. So let me just what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to just call the function f1 and call the function f2, right? Call the function f2. Right now I am operating in the Google's Colab notebook, and it will show me some of the errors like L is not defined. But if you are working on some of the other LDEs where the syntax matching is not available, such as notepad, then you won't get the difference at all, right? Let me try to execute this thing. I am getting an error here. Why error is here? The name L is not defined for the function f2. Okay, what I'm trying to do is that let me just try to comment this out. Let me try to comment this out as well. Let me just try to execute the f1. Okay, if I try to execute f1, I'm getting the perfect result of 10. But whenever I'm trying to execute the f2, right, it will throw me an error because this L1 is not available for it, right? So it didn't aware about any such a name called L, right? Clear, guys? So that's why the L is defined under the function. That's why it has a local scope we have. Clear, guys? So let's move forward with the other questions we have. Okay, so explain the scope in Python, just like we have seen here. Okay, so we have some scope related things as well. Let me just define the scope first. So think of a scope as a father of a family. Okay, it's an analogy we are trying to build here. Every object works within a scope. Okay, a formal definition would be this is the block of a code under which no matter how many objects you declare, they remain relevant. There are some examples as well. Let's see this example. Okay, so these variables, G variable we are defining here has a global scope. We can just access this variable for any functions, right? But this variable L has a local scope, means what? It is available for this f1 function only. It won't available for this f2 functions. So this is the scope of a variable, right? It is defined and executed within the certain limits. Clear, guys? So this is the scopes we have. These are the some of the examples right now here, which is the same as we explained here with the different ones. Clear? So in the in other ways we have a different levels of scopes is there. So model level scope is there. So outermost level scope is there. Model level scope is nothing but the model level variable. Okay, so the model is .py file, and in that py file if I are declaring any variables, so no matter how many functions, how many methods, okay, you have in that modules, in that files, this variable will be easily available. Clear? So outermost scope we have, this is a reference to all the built-in names that we are calling in the programs. Okay, so if I give an example with respect to the built-in names, okay, so function is a built-in name we have, def is a built-in name we have, it's a keyword as well, right? Assert is a keyword as well. We can just call anywhere the assert keyword. So these are the outermost scope, the higher level scopes, right? So these are the stuff we have with respect to the scope as well, right? Then we have a what is a global, protected and private attribute in Python. Okay, so let's see what are those terminologies we have right now. The attribute of a classes are called as a variables. Okay, there are three access modifiers in Python for a variables. Okay, it's like it's related to OOPS terminology right now, and we can define their attributes, whether there is a public, a private or protected. So let's see the public first. The variable declared as a publics are accessible everywhere, inside or outside classes. Private, the variable declared as a private are accessible only within the current class. It's same like an global and local as well. And the protected ones, so the one additional category is there. The variable declared as a protected are accessible only within the current packages. So the scope are different with respect to that. Okay, attributes are classified as a global attribute and local attribute as we have. So let's directly jump into the example I have, so where I can just define one class here, declaring one variable m1 here which has a global attribute, and inside that class I am defining one method. Okay, this is method which take a self as an attribute and defining another m2 variable, right, which is an local attribute here, right, and return the m2. So this method will return an m2 here, and this class contain this method. So after that I am just initializing an object with respect to that class. Okay, this is the class which is a blueprint right now. So in order to just initialize into the real world entity, I have to create that object. So sam underscore m is a variable and mobile is an object we have created, and I'm just accessing the attribute with respect to that object, which is a method m1 here. So when I'm trying to access the m1 here, I'm getting the Samsung mobile as an output. Clear? Next question we have, what are the keywords in Python? Okay, what are the keywords in Python? So the keywords in Python are a reserved words. Okay, are the reserved words that are used as an identifier. Okay, as an identifier function name or variable name. They are helps to define the structure and syntax of the language we have, right? So these are the built-in some of the words are there which is helps to define the functions, helps to define the classes, helps to define the methods. Okay, those are the keywords we have, and also we cannot use that keyword as a variable name. So kind of a questions we have with respect to that. Okay, and as of Python 3.8 we have a 33 keywords are there. Okay, so 33 keywords are there, and which is evolving right now, if I just see the list of the keywords we have, such as false, right, none, true is there. So these are my keywords I have which is available for defining the syntax of the language. Okay, let me just go back to my Colab as well. Let me just add one cell here, right, and try to see some of the keywords are there. If I wanted to see the keyword of there with respect to the latest version I have of the Python, let me just import the keyword. So let me just import keyword as kw. Okay, and wanted to print the kw list, right? So let me just try to print out this thing. Okay, these are the keywords we have right now. So how many of such a keywords are available? Let me just again take one print statement. I am taking the length as a built-in function and pass the kw list, right, kw list. Let me just execute this thing. Okay, we have a 35 keywords right now. Okay, so let me check my version as well for the Python. Let me check the version as well. Exclamation mark Python hyphen version. So if I wanted to execute any command line argument in the Colab notebook, we'll just take this syntax as well. Let me just try to execute this stuff. So I have a 3.10 version as well, and there are some newer keywords which are added in the newer versions are we have, right? Clear, guys? Okay, so let's just head back to the next question we have. Okay, what is the difference between list and tuple? Okay, so these questions is asked numerous times in the interview room, right? So it's a pretty important questions we have, right? So let's just take, so first of all, list and tuples are the two data collection objects or data types we have in the Python as well, right? It's look like a somewhat similar but have a distinct difference between them. List and tuple are the data structures in Python that may store one or more objects or values. Okay, using square bracket. Okay, using square bracket we hold the list objects, and within the parentheses we hold the tuple objects, right? So there are some of the differences we have with respect to that. Let's see what are those differences. So list and tuples. Okay, so lists are mutable, the most important distinguish between the tuples and list. Okay, lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. What is mutable and immutable in this case? So mutable means those are growing in nature. Once we define the list object, we can add, remove, update the existing list object. Okay, but in the case of tuples, it is immutable. Immutable means what? Immutable means what? It is not growable. It is not growable. Once you create one list object, you cannot add, remove or change any element with respect to that. So this is the mutable and immutable behavior we have. Then the second difference, the impacts of the iterations are time consuming. So we can iterate the list elements. The iteration have an effect of making things go faster. As tuples are immutable, it has some added advantages we have, right? So with respect to the iterations, mutables are much faster objects, okay, because we know that how many objects are there beforehand. Let me just go with the third distinguish we have. The list are more convenient for action like insertion and deletion, and it is obvious, like it is growable in nature, and if I want to insert the additional record, if I want to delete the record we have, then we can go with the list. But with respect to the tuple, the case is completely different, right? The items may be accessed using the tuple data type, but we cannot do any modification with respect to that, okay? So it's like an create an object and freezing is thread. Let me just go with the another distinguish we have. List take up more memory, right? It will take a more memory, and tuple take a less memory because of its immutability nature, right? Then next difference we have, there are numerous techniques to build into the list. So we have a different methods we have, right? Different methods we have, right? If I just give an example, like append is there, extend is there, right? There are some other methods as well we have with respect to the list, working with the list as well. There aren't any method with respect to built-in method with respect to tuples we have. We can just access the element with respect to that. Clear, eh? So again, next difference is that changes as fault that are unexpected are more likely to occur, okay? Means what? If we are accidentally add any element which are not there for the list, which can and which is the list are susceptible to that as well. But in the case of tuples, it is difficult to take any modification with respect to that, and it is more not that more error prone we have, right? Then next difference we have, they consume a lot of memory given the nature of a data structures, right? And again, this is the same thing with respect to the memory management we have, right? And in the case of tuple, we have a less memory as well. Talking about the syntaxes, so if I define the list using the square braces we have and take any object, like so whether it is an integer, a string, okay, or we can have a nested list as well. With respect to the tuple, we choose to have a parenthesis is there, and also the parenthesis is optional, and the comma separated value by default taking as a tuple as well, right? So these are the stuff we have with respect to list and tuples, and these are the pretty important stuff we have, right? So next question we have, how can we concatenate two tuples? Okay, how can we concatenate two tuples? Let's just look at how can we concatenate two tuples, right? So let's suppose I have a tuple 1 is there are some values are there, right? It is a heterogeneous, and again tuple 2 is taking some integer values are there. So we can use the concatenation operator in the Python, which is termed as a plus, okay? Plus symbol is there, and those concatenation operators help us to concatenate these two tuples. So the concatenation of tuples done by the plus symbol here, right? So tuple 1 plus tuple 2, and there we can see get another tuple as an object we have, right? So all we have to do is use the concatenation operator. The arithmetic concatenation operators in the Python has a dual nature. If it is find two int object, it will perform an addition. If it is find two string object, it will do the concatenation. Similar to if it finds the two tuple object, it will add them together. Clear? So that's the stuff we have with respect to the concatenation of tuples we have, right? So these are the things we have with respect to the tuple one's concatenation. But the thing is that they ask the follow-up question with respect to that, right? They ask the follow-up question. What is the follow-up question? So the follow-up question is like, so you say that the tuples are immutable. In the previous questions we have seen that tuples are immutable. Immutable means what? we cannot add any elements to the tuples. We cannot add any elements to tuples. But right now what I am doing is that the tuple 1 is created. Okay, the tuple 1 is created, and I am just adding the additional element to it, right? So 1 a true is there, and I'm adding the additional element to it. So where is an immutability here, right? Where is an immutability here? So this is very a tricky question to solve, right? This is very trick questions to have. Let me just explain the behind the things going on with respect to that, right? So it's a pretty important stuff we have read, guys. Okay, so what I'm doing is that I'm trying to create one tuple object. So tuple 1 is equals to something like, it will take one tuple object 1 2 3 is there, and I'm taking the second tuple object, right? Second tuple object which taking some 11 12 and 13s are there. Okay, so these are my tuples are created, guys. So these are my tuples are created. Let me just execute that code cell. Okay, the tuples are created. Let me just confirm if it is a tuple object or not. Okay, so how can I confirm? Type is a built-in method for that. So tup1 is passing, I'm here using here tup1, and again I'm trying to just copy this thing. Okay, and let me just go here and paste those stuff, and let me just take the tup2 here, and okay, so tup2 here, and let me just execute this thing. So both are the tuple objects we have. So what I'm trying to do is that let me just go here again. Okay, let me just go here again and take this kind of syntax: tup1 plus equals tup2, right? Tup1 plus equals tup2. Execute that up. Let's see what if I'm getting error or what. I'm not getting error. I'm not getting any error, right? I'm not getting any error. Let me just print the tup1 here. So if you are seeing the tup1 right now, it is growable, right? First I'm created this tuple, right, which takes 1 2 3 as an object. And if we say that if it is an immutable, then how this operation is performed under the hood, right? It means that the immutability in nature don't have with respect to tuple, right? But that's not the stuff. Okay, but that's not the stuff. Let me explain this thing with respect to this technical stuff. Okay, let me just go here into the paint as well. Let me just take some stuff here. Okay, and just give me a minute, guys. Okay, let me just take this thing here. Okay, and we have a tup1 is there which is created. Okay, and tup1 has an object of 1 2 3, and we also created tup2, guys, right? Tup2, guys, and tup2 created 11 12 and 13 as well, right? Let me just okay, right, tup2 is there, and I'm taking another line, something like tup1 plus equals tup2, and I'm trying to print the tup1 here, right? So what's really going on here? So let me just add here some line number as well. So see, this is the second line of code we have, right? Second line of code we have. This is the third line of code we have, and this is the fourth line of code we have, so that I can able to explain this stuff. Okay, so this is my code. Let's just go line by line here. At the line 1, at this line, so one object is created, right? So one object is created, and this object contains these data 1 2 3, basically a tuple object, and tuple 1 which is a variable. So this is my tuple 1, which is reference to that object right now, right? So tuple 1 reference to that object, and that object contains this 1 2 3 values. This is the under the hood thing, guys. Okay, next we have a tuple 2 object, right? We have a next we just go with the second line right now. What happened in the second line? The second object will be created. the second object will be created, and the second object contain the tuple which is in the form of 11 comma 12 and comma 13 we have, right? This is my second object, and 2 which is reference into that object. Clear? So this two stuff is clear to you guys, right? So in the third line some special happens. What happen is that in the third line, let me just scroll it down a little bit. In the third line it will create some additional object. Just I'm writing this third line in the different way. So third line tells us that tup1, okay, tup1 is equals to tup1 plus tup2, okay, plus equals is an combination operator. So it's a combination operator we have, right? Combination operator we have, and in that combination operators we just write this kind of stuff, right? So we can just write in the different way. It's the same thing, writing plus equals, right? Let me just go here again. So tup1 and tup2 is there. Tup1 object contains 1 comma 2 comma 3, right? And the plus tup2 object contains 11 comma 12 comma 13, something like that, okay? These are the two objects, and the plus is happily available for concatenating these two tuples, right? Concatenating these tuples, valid only, okay? So right now what happened is that one new object is created, and in that object this value will be stored. Let me just take this one, 1 comma 2 comma 3, then we have 11, then 12, and then 13 we have, right? 13 we have. So this is another object, and tup1 is still referencing to this object, not this object. So what happen is that from this line onwards, this reference variable will be deleted, okay, and this tup1 which is already created right now reference into these objects, okay. So what happened with that, as this is the object first created for the tup1, has no reference variable, so it is available for the garbage collection. So that's why when I'm trying to print the tup1, print the tup1, I am getting these objects which is contain the 1 2 3 and 11 12 13. So the still the tuple is immutable. It's just that the different object is created for the different line of code, not the existing objects will be modified. Clear? So this is the stuff we have with respect to the tuple mutability and immutability we have, right guys? So let me just go into the next questions we have, okay. Next question we have for the day, okay. So what are the functions in Python? Okay, the function in Python refers a block that have organized and reusable codes to perform single and related events. Functions are important to create a better modularity for application that reuses a high degree of coding. Python has a number of built-in functions like print. However, it is also allowed to create a user-defined functions we have. Let me just go back here. So here you can see I have created one functions here. This is the syntax of functions we have, and if I want to create a reusable piece of code again and again, then I can go with the functions as well, okay. So this is the stuff we have with respect to the functions. Clear guys? So I hope it's clear for all of you, right? Let's move forward with the last question for the today's sessions we have. So it's a very popular interview question if they wanted to gauge you on the basis of how well you aware about the NumPy libraries, okay. So what is the questions? How can you initialize a 5 by 5 NumPy array with only zeros? Okay, straightforward answer is that we can use the dot zeros method in the NumPy, right? We can use the dot zeros method in the NumPy to create an array of an object which is arrays, or just make the all element with the 5 by 5 array with all zeros, right? So we can have that syntax as well. Let me just go into the my file here, a collab notebook. Let me just import the numpy library. How can we import the numpy library, guys? Okay, import numpy as np, right? Import numpy as np. So after importing that stuff, let me just execute this thing. So numpy library is already imported. So right now, so zeros, let me take the zeros as variable and let me assign np dot zeros of, right, and I am passing some of the rows and columns. So 5 by 5 I want right now. Okay, 5 by 5 I want. So let me just execute this thing. Okay, so the execution is completed. Let me try to see some of the result with respect to the zeros, and I am getting the 5 by 5 array with respect to the zeros method. So it's essentially used in the ML object as well. If I want to create the sparse matrix, okay, if I wanted to create parse matrix, then I can use the zeros functions as well. So it has an immense applicability with respect to data science, right? So we have a that kind of thing. So that's all for this session, guys. Okay, that's all for these sessions. I hope you will get some newer things in these sessions. We will meet in the next set, in which we have seen some of the others questions as well. Till then, goodbye.